10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education will tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is that not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America. Systemic racism that has plagued our nation for far, far too long. I said that over the course of the past year that the blinders have been taken off the nation, the American people. What many Americans didn't see or had simply refused to see couldn't be ignored any longer. Those 8 minutes and 46 seconds that took George Floyd's life opened the eyes of millions of Americans and millions of people around all over the world. It was the knee on the neck of justice, and it wouldn't be forgotten. And it's not white Americans' fault, but just a fact.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. If you believe...
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparationist perspective, bringing you those ADOCS hot topics and making the case for reparations. Making the case for weaponizing our votes and socializing our suffering. And today, family, this afternoon is your rendition of As the World of ADOCS Turns, your midday wake-up call. Yes, family, it's getting kind of hectic. Yes, it is. Oh, my God. Biden gives $735 million being in support of a ceasefire. What? Also, DA says there's nothing to see in the execution of Andrew Brown. It's all justifiable. Can you say ethnic cleansing of ADOCS right before our eyes, akin to how it happened to the Jews? Oh my God. Shout out to Rachel Mawindwa, Brian Johnson, Trey X. I see you, family. And for those of you who have yet to chat, where you are tuning in from, live. Where is my Lord, y'all? I can't find my remote. Lord, hold on, guys. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. I got to turn this off before it interrupts what I got to say about it. What did I do with the remote? Here we go. Hold on, family. Oh, the puckery. No money for reparations. But $735 million for the Israelis to drop bombs on the Palestinians. Now, this was done before the conflict. Let's jump right into it and talk all about the puckery. Biden administration notified Congress of $735 million weapons sale to Israel earlier this month before the violence began. But now you're in support of a ceasefire. It's been approved, y'all. And then y'all scratching your balls as to why they are bombing right now. Let's read it, and I'll tell you the way I see it in between. The Biden administration notified Congress of a proposed U.S. weapons sale to Israel worth $735 million earlier this month, according to two sources familiar with the notification. The sale of the precision-guided weapons, which the administration approved before the latest outbreak of violence between Hamas and the Israeli government, is now being reviewed by Congress as concerns grow among progressive Democrats about the Biden administration remaining adamant that Israel has a right to defend itself from rocket attacks from Hamas. Doesn't this sound very much like the defenses they use to continue to hire the race soldiers that the FBI in 2016 said have infiltrated every police department throughout the country? And they hire them even though they know that they're associated with domestic terrorist groups. They know this, but they are more concerned about the First Amendment rights of domestic terrorists than they are Black lives. Do you see the correlation here? You've got to be very concerned about this. This is how Hitler came to power. The Jews know this. It happened. Little bitty support from the U.S. all along until they were no longer in support of it. Ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people, ethnic cleansing of the ADOCS people. Let's talk about it. Israel has been the largest recipient of U.S. foreign assistance since World War II, and this sale is one small part of overall U.S. military support. I told y'all the last count from the U.S. to support Israel in 2013 was $233 billion with a B, but we don't have money for our reparations. I couldn't find any history from 2013 to current day. I think I did that report around 2020. I couldn't find what our tax dollars were being used for in support of Israel for a Holocaust we didn't participate in. But to not oppose a Holocaust is to be complicit, right? Am I right? The U.S. pledged to provide $38 billion with a B in military and to Israel from 2019 to 2028 in an agreement between the two countries in 2016. This is why they keep allowing these race soldiers and domestic terrorists to execute us with impunity, so we won't pocket watch. As they make excuses and want to pay themselves $12 million as a commission to study a cashless reparations, while telling us they don't have money to include us economically because capitalism requires an anchor. And ADOCS has been it during our 500+ year Holocaust. While Biden, Harris, and Scott tell you America's not a racist country, but we do have to look at our history as if this isn't still ongoing. I see ADOCS and what's happening to the Palestinians right now. Congress has 15 days to review the proposed sale, which it received notification of on May 5th before it is finalized. It's been finalized, y'all. The Washington Post was first to report that the White House had notified Congress of the proposed sale. The sale is unlikely to be stopped by Congress. It was not, according to a source familiar with the matter. That's because this particular sale, like all sales to Israel, is going through an expedited congressional review process. Not protections, not the anti-lynch bill, not economic inclusion of ADOCS, whose ancestors built the country with their lives, but weapons for Israel to decimate the Palestinian people. That gets rushed through. It gets expedited congressional review. It gives them 50 days to take action to stop it instead of the usual 30-day review period. With just 4 days left in the review process, it's done. And the requirement for the committees of jurisdiction to act to block the bill, there's virtually no chance of that happening, according to the source. The window has basically closed, the source said. There are expedited review processes for arms sales to NATO and its member states, Japan, South Korea, Israel, Australia, and New Zealand, according to the Pentagon. This is what I'm talking about. This country has blood on its hands. It continues to create the problems and then want to oppress ADOCS in the country our ancestors built with their lives, to weaponize immigration against us, to neutralize us economically, and to neutralize our vote. They create these problems and they want our vote to be the solution. The State Department does not comment on pending sales. A spokesperson told CNN, Israel has purchased 3 precision-guided weapons from the U.S. in the past, and it is believed that they are being used in the current military campaign on Gaza. The 2 sources familiar with the sale said. This sale is part of routine support to Israel and did not come about due to the recent escalating violence in the region, the sources added. How convenient! How convenient! With these Democrats, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So it's just a coinky dink. Right? Oh, Biden, this is just a coinky dink. The growing number of civilian deaths in Gaza is causing worry inside the White House as officials work the phones with partners in the region, but Biden has not called for a ceasefire, despite the Democrats' push for him to do so. In recent days, the president and officials on his national security team have routinely said that Israel has the right to defend itself, as do the race soldiers in our communities executing us with impunity. Andrew Brown, according to the attorneys for the Brown family, had his hands on the steering wheel. He was blocked in, and now the DA is saying that his vehicle is a weapon. We don't get into it. Oh my God. In recent days, the president and officials on his national security team have routinely said that Israel has the right. Okay, Representative Ilhan Omar said it would be appalling if the administration went through with the sale. It's done. It would be appalling for the Biden administration to go through with $735 million in precision-guided weaponry to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. These are war crimes without any strings attached in the wake of escalating violence and attacks on civilians. This is Armageddon. If this goes through, this will be seen as a green light for continued escalation and will undercut any attempts at brokering a ceasefire, the Minnesota Democrats said in a statement. Over the weekend, Senator Bernie Sanders called for the U.S. to take a hard look at the nearly $4 billion in military support the U.S. gives to Israel every year. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki showed no indication that the U.S. is willing to review U.S. military assistance to Israel when she was asked about the Vermont Independent's comments on Monday. Quote, our message is sometimes you have to step back from politics for a moment. It is not easy to do, and we recognize and agree that watching the lives lost of these Palestinian children, of these families, the fear you see in the eyes of the Israel people, it is heartbreaking. We want to bring an end to the violence. We want to de-escalate the situation on the ground. The road we feel we can do that through, the most effective way we feel can do that is quiet and intensive diplomacy while supplying them with arms. More than 25 Democratic senators led by Senator John Ossoff of Georgia released a joint statement calling for an immediate ceasefire agreement in Israel and the Palestinian territories to prevent further loss of life and further escalation of violence. The statement reflected growing concern in Congress over the escalating violence in the Middle East. Other Democrats have also called for more robust action by the administration to bring about an end to the fighting. I think the administration needs to push harder on Israel and the Palestinian Authority to stop the violence, bring about a ceasefire, end these hostilities, and get back to a process of trying to resolve this long-standing conflict. Representative Adam Schiff, a California Democrat, said Sunday on CBS Face the Nation. Israeli strikes have killed at least 212 people in Gaza, including 61 children, 36 women, and injured some 1,400 others. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza said Monday. Sunday was the deadliest day yet, with more than 50 killed. The ministry said rocket fire from Gaza has killed at least 10 people in Israel, including 2 children, since the start of the flare-up, according to the Israel Defense Forces. On Monday, a fresh barrage of rockets from Gaza once again set off sirens and sent Israelis fleeing into bomb shelters in Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Beersheba. At least one residential building in Ashdod was hit. The Israel Defense Forces said 3 people were slightly injured, the Israeli Red Cross said. It's a problem, family, that we are always in the midst of creating these problems and then want the black vote to be the solution while weaponizing immigration against ADOCS to keep us tethered to the bottom economically as the anchor of this country's capitalism. So it's been approved. Oh my God. Hold on, family. I'm trying to find the article where he was for a ceasefire. How can you be giving them money in advance of the wars breaking out and then be in support of a ceasefire? You supplied them with the arms. Where's the article? Israel and Hamas trade attacks after Biden expresses support for ceasefire. Israel has also thanked the Biden administration for blocking a UN Security Council statement criticizing its actions in Gaza. 87% of our electorate voted for this. Not me. Red top blue Congress to protect the over 53% of ADOCS who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism until they cut the checks in the trillions over multi-generations. That's my square. A trifecta of either party gives us George Floyd and an impending Armageddon. Hours after President Joe Biden said he would support a ceasefire, dozens of Israeli jets launched more than 100 missiles into the Gaza Strip overnight as the fighting entered its second week. The Israeli military said some 110 guided missiles launched from 62 fighter jets had targeted the metro, a network of tunnels used by Hamas, the militant group that governs the tiny impoverished Gaza Strip. At least 212 people, including 61 children, have been killed by the Israeli airstrikes over the past week, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. By the weapons supplied and paid for by who? America with 3 Ks. 16 Palestinians have also been killed in clashes in the occupied West Bank. A general strike was underway Tuesday, called by Palestinians in a mark of solidarity with those in Gaza. Since early last week, Hamas has launched some 3,440 rockets from Gaza into Israel, killing 12 people, including 2 children, officials there said. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, after touring an Air Force base Tuesday, said the end was not yet in sight for the conflict. I conduct situation assessments and we make decisions, he said. We will continue as long as necessary to restore peace to all Israeli citizens. Also Tuesday, Israeli authorities said that a decision had been made to stop aid trucks from entering the blockaded Gaza Strip after a mortar bomb hit a border crossing and other bombs were fired at a separate border junction as trucks entered the enclave. The trucks contain medical equipment, animal feed, and fuel tanks for use by international organizations in Gaza, according to the officials. The toll on civilians in Gaza, home to 2 million Palestinians, has been high. As well as the deaths and injuries, some 2,500 people have been left homeless after at least 90 buildings, including hundreds of housing units, have been destroyed, according to a statement Monday by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Schools and hospitals have been damaged, the agency said, including those run by international organizations such as Doctors Without Borders. One high-rise building destroyed by Israeli jets housed the Associated Press and the Al Jazeera news organizations. We are in war. We have entered a 7-day of war, Matthew Shamali, Director of Operations at the UN Relief and Works Agency in Gaza, told NBC News in an interview. The population is terrified. They've started moving from their homes because they no longer feel safe. He added that no place in Gaza is safe. A spokeswoman for the Israeli police said Tuesday that the service had received a report that a rocket had struck the Eshkol region, which borders Egypt and the Gaza Strip, causing a number of casualties. The Israeli Rescue Service Megan David Adam reported that a rocket had killed 2 people and injured 7, 1 civilian in the region. jumping down. Though Biden told Netanyahu on Monday that he supported a ceasefire, he has so far resisted pressure, much of it from within his own Democratic Party, to criticize Israel's actions. The U.S. earlier also blocked a statement by the UN Security Council that called for an end to the crises related to Gaza and for the protections of civilians. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz thanked the Biden administration for rightly preventing the unjust UN Security Council statement criticizing Israel's actions in Gaza. The U.S. gives Israel $3.8 billion a year in military aid, equivalent to 20% of Israel's defense budget and nearly 3/5 of U.S. foreign military financing globally. Long-running tensions reignited last week after Israeli police raided Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa mosque compound while Palestinian worshippers were praying there during Ramadan, the Muslim holy month. Israel started this. And America with 3 Ks is helping them to continue it. While saying with one lip that, oh, we're in support of a ceasefire, but let us give you more arms. Hamas responded by firing rockets into Israel, which has replied with its own bombing campaign. Netanyahu told Israelis on Sunday that they should be ready for an extended military campaign. The Israeli military says it tries to minimize civilian injuries and deaths and accuses Hamas of using people as human shields. But people in Gaza are scared. Amani al-Sharabji, 43, a teacher in Gaza, said in an interview Monday that she was forced to leave to find shelter elsewhere when a bomb exploded by her house. We left because our windows were broken and fire entered our house, she said. Sharabji said the hopelessness of life in Gaza makes her students angry and despondent. This will be another problem that the U.S. creates and wants ADOCS to fix. Wait for it. It's coming. When she encourages them to learn, she said they tell her, learn to be what? If we die, there's no need for our education. They feel there is no future, she added. The Norwegian Refugee Council said Tuesday that 11 of the children killed by Israeli airstrikes in Gaza over the last week were participating in its psychosocial program aimed at helping them deal with trauma. All of the children between 5 and 15 years old were killed in their homes in densely populated areas, the humanitarian group added. On Tuesday, Palestinians in Israel, Jerusalem, and the West Bank observed a general strike to protest what activists and human rights groups says is a system of apartheid, of which the latest Gaza conflict is only one manifestation. What about ADOCS in America with 3 Ks? Are we not the Palestinian people? Lima Nazi, 32, one of the organizers of the general strike in Ramallah, said the events in Gaza were uniting all Palestinians against an apartheid colonial regime. Israel rejects that characterization and accuses Hamas of inciting violence across the region. You went into their mosque. You hit first, Israel. Unity can make us stronger, Nazi added. We all feel actually our freedom is very near and very close. Tell me why you support Israel over the Palestinians. Put it in the chat. I'll be back. Oh, my God. Next, fatal police shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. was justified, DA says. Just like the Minneapolis Police Department said that 8 of Chauvin's 22 complaints during his 19-year tenure were justified as a form of practice for the kill choke that ultimately took George Floyd's life. ethnic cleansing of ADOCS. This is our Holocaust. North Carolina sheriff's deputies were justified in the fatal shooting of a black man in April, a district attorney said Tuesday. Reminds me of Kamala the Chameleon. She never met a cop with 3 Ks that she ever felt compelled to prosecute, even though we know they were responsible for arresting Mitrice Richardson, who had a bipolar episode at one of those Malibu restaurants. Her mother couldn't get to her in time after the race soldiers told her they would keep her overnight. They released her at 2 a.m. with no phone, no car, no nothing. Kamala the Chameleon told her father they'd open up investigations to see if there was any grounds to prosecute it as she was running her senatorial race. As soon as she got the black vote, she said there was nothing to see. But y'all voted for this. Y'all chucked them pearls and ski-weeing all over the damn place for this. District Attorney Andrew Womble said Andrew Brown Jr.'s actions caused deputies believe it was necessary to use deadly force. Brown ignored deputies' commands to stop and began to drive his car directly at one of the officers, Womble told a news conference. He said the first shot fired at Brown's car went through the front windshield, not the back, as was previously reported. Deputies attempted to serve drug... Oh, excuse me. Is that why they're hiding the entire footage and redacting parts of it? Deputies attempting to serve drug-related search and arrest warrants shot and killed Brown outside his Elizabeth City home on April 21st. 3 deputies involved in the shooting remain on leave, while 4 others who were at the scene were reinstated after the sheriff said they didn't fire their weapons. So they're not considered accomplices to the execution of Andrew Brown in the same way you or I would be. An independent autopsy released by the family found that Brown was hit by bullets 5 times, including once in the back of the head. Lawyers for Brown's family who watched body camera footage say that it shows Brown was not armed and that he didn't drive toward deputies or pose a threat to them. Womble has previously disagreed in court, saying that Brown struck despite deputies twice with his car before any shots were fired. So where's the video? Why can't you show us that? Why can't you show us that? We love to see that. We love for you race soldiers to be right. That he deserved to be executed 5 shots while his hands was on the steering wheel. And your police cruisers had him locked into his garage, his driveway. I'd love to see that video. The sheriff has said his deputies weren't injured. Of course they weren't. Did it even happen? Where's the video showing that? Why did you show the family that? Why did you show their lawyers that? The shooting sparked protests over multiple weeks by demonstrators calling for the public release of body camera footage. While authorities have shown footage to Brown's family, a judge refused to release the video publicly pending the state's investigation. They're all in bed together. Separately, the FBI has launched a civil rights probe of the shooting. Good Lord. How y'all doing over here? Welcome to the live. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. And folks wonder why I scream all the damn time. I don't know why everybody ain't turned the hell up. That's my question for those who question me. Why ain't everybody screaming? Why aren't we storming the Capitol? Trey X says, I'm supporting the Palestinians because they stand with ADOCS since day one. Saltra Del Reed 360, thank you for joining the live, my love. The U.S., Brian says, the U.S. uses Israel as a foothold into the Middle East. From what I understand, it is the only country in that region with which we have allyship. Breaking, according to the British newspaper, Russia is threatened war against Israel because of the Palestinian conflict. Brian says ethnic selection is a custom over there, as Ashkenazi Jews are welcome with open arms, yet Ethiopians are not. YVOC Info, welcome to the live, my love. Brian, exactly. Israeli is now just deporting a select number of the Black Hebrew Israelites who settled there from America over 30 years ago. Brian, anyone speaking out against this will be labeled anti-Semitic, much the same way arguing with Asians is now being classified as a hate crime. You see the trick bag? Accountability is not hate. Triac says facts to you, Brian. At YVOC Info, yes, I saw an article on that, very racist. Here for the strong words, speak family, facts, Angela. Black Watch Media, brother, welcome. At Black Watch Media. What's up, fam? Okay, listen, let me silence that. I got more, and I got a good 20 minutes left. I try to get this done in 1 hour, family. If I don't finish, we'll roll some of this over. Let's get to the next thing, since y'all doing good and I read some of your comments. Hold on, family. Okay, hold on. Prosecuted to discuss probe into fatal shooting of Black man. To discuss it. Okay, I've read as much of that as I want to. It's just puckery, as we already know. Let me go to the next article. Welcome to the live, family. This is unbelievable. I had to come in with those breaking news reports because this affects us, y'all. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, we are the Palestinians. At least 18 states are dropping the $300 a week federal unemployment benefits. You know who that's going to mostly do in large part impact? Those of us who are on the bottom, ADOCS. At least 21 states, all with Republican governors, where most of our Black folks are concentrated, are set to stop participating in the federal government supplemental unemployment benefits program, which provides an extra $300 a week to the jobless. As many Republican officials are claiming the payments disincentivize workers to get back on the job. Oh my God. Do you see the lies and the puckery on both sides of the aisle, family? They pretend as if they're not weaponizing immigration against us to give them gainful employment while denying us. They give them gainful employment with our affirmative action. They're filling those quotas so they don't have to hire ADOCS, who's got the highest rates of unemployment and underemployment. Most of them have just stopped looking. And so when you take away this $300 a month, well, it's not $300 a month. I think it's $300 a week. Yeah. When you take away that $300 a week, who do you think is going to be on the homeless food lines, living in their cars? When you take away the federal support, the people who are on the bottom, our people. Missouri, Iowa, Mississippi, and Alaska all plan to drop the benefits on June 12th, which is the earliest date states are allowed to leave the program. Indiana, Alabama, West Virginia, Idaho, North Dakota, and Wyoming are all planning to opt out on June 19th. Texas, Ohio, Georgia, Utah, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and South Dakota will cease payments on June 26th. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte, Republican, said he would withdraw the state from the program by June 27th, also claiming Montana was being plagued by a labor shortage. Montana will instead offer a one-time $1,200 bonus for returning to work, Gianforte said, with Oklahoma also offering a $1,200 incentive. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, Republican, said the state would end federal benefits at the end of June. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, Republican, announced the state will stop participating in the federal government supplemental unemployment benefits program on July 3rd. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey said his state will stop paying federal benefits on July 10, but the state will offer a $2,000 return to work bonus. Return to what work, ADOCS? What work are we returning to? Our unemployment and underemployment numbers were off the charts before the pandemic. Due to institutional systemic racism, what jobs are they supposed to be returning to? The $300 a week federal payments, which are a reduced version of a $600 weekly benefit authorized last March under the CARES Act to help the millions of workers thrown out of work amidst the coronavirus pandemic, will continue until September 6th in states that don't opt out of the federal program. What to watch for? Sorry, family. Republican officials have long claimed federal unemployment payments are too high, and more GOP-led states may soon leave the federal program amid reports of employers having trouble finding workers. What, to pay them $7.50 an hour? You're mad because they're making more money on unemployment than they are at the jobs? Well, 8 Democrats voted down a $15 minimum wage in the Senate. You act like $1,200 a month is a come up for the people. I guess it would be if you're making $7.50 or $8 an hour. But with the median home price of $340,000 nationally, ADOCS are finished. We're being wiped completely off the monopoly board. Obama created 1 million white millionaires during his tenure. Didn't audit the banks, didn't guarantee or ensure that they were lending back to us to get back in the homes they foreclosed on. They got paid like 3-4 times on those foreclosures. Now the pandemic is coming to wipe the rest of us off completely off the face of the monopoly board, while telling us they want $12 million to study a cashless reparations under HR 40. This is your midday wake-up call. Welcome. And they're paying fortunes to run the country, lining their pockets with most of the pandemic money. Millions of Americans remain unemployed, but claims of work shortages appear to be largely anecdotal so far. They are anecdotal. It's not true. Oh, the Puckery family. Crucial quote. We have flooded the zone with checks that I'm sure everybody loves to get, and also enhanced unemployment. Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican in Kentucky, said last week. And what I hear from business people, hospitals, educators, everybody across the state all week is regretfully, it's actually more lucrative for many Kentuckians and Americans to not work than to work. Oh my God. Fix it, Black Jesus. $1,200 a month is more lucrative to be on unemployment than it is to go to work. Let that sink in, bitch McConnell. That's no money in a country where the median national home price is $340,000. Oh my God. Big number, $387. That's how much the average American receives from their state in weekly unemployment payments, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, which rises to $687 with the federal boost. Based on a 40-hour work week, that means the average unemployed American is getting the equivalent of $17.17 an hour more than twice the federal minimum wage. Contra. At a news conference earlier this month, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said it was not clear whether federal unemployment benefits were causing a labor shortage. They're not. There are no jobs. We've been on a pandemic for over a year. The government has lined its pockets. They gave a $125 million pay raise in the last COVID package to the House. They're giving money to special interest groups, lobbyists, foreign interest. $735 million to Israel for arms. While 8 Democrats said no to a $15 an hour minimum wage. But in any case, Powell said that won't be a factor for much longer because he expects the federal government will not extend payments past September. I just cannot. Homeless camps may soon come to LA. Celebrity neighborhoods. They hotter than fish grease down here, y'all. The homeless camps have taken over Venice Beach. Yeah, because we told y'all, we gave y'all billions in tax money to build houses for the homeless, and you chose not to do it. So now they're coming, to where they can live well on the beach near y'all's homes. Since you won't put them in a home, set up the tents in your backyards. Venice Beach, LA's ever-expanding homeless problem is now likely landing on the doorstep of celebrity-filled beachfront neighborhoods as a beleaguered city council looks for ways to alleviate some of the stress on world-famous Venice Beach. The 2-mile strip of Venice, where actor Arnold Schwarzenegger and many others have pumped iron on an outdoor makeshift seaside gym, has now been claimed by thousands of homeless living in a tent city. Venice is only 3 square miles, and an estimated 4,000 homeless live there, said Soledad Ursua. Stop lining your pockets with the money that we voted to give you and give them houses, and you won't have to whine. A member of the Venice Neighborhood Council's board of directors. The situation is a lawless wasteland filled with filth, rats, fires, and crime, where police are defunded and residents fend for themselves from the encroaching madness, Ursula said. Senior residents are afraid to walk outside as violent robberies have risen by 177% and assault with a deadly weapon 116% over the last year, according to the LAPD statistics. Look at my eyes. Tell me what you see. We are homeowners within a homeless encampment. It's all around us, Ursula said. You can get shot or stabbed. No one in their right mind would take their children there at night or in the day. They don't give a damn as long as it's downtown on Skid Row. Take from us as taxpayers, line their own pockets. Because homelessness and being poor is profitable for the likes of these very people that are complaining. The community group fightbackvenice.org counted 1,901 homeless in 2020. A new count was not taken this year because of the pandemic, but the current population is at least double, said Ursula, who owns a house near the beach. Residents from the newly proposed locations have been up in arms over their likely forthcoming neighbors. All I hear is we don't want to become Venice, Ursula said of her wealthy fellow Californians in the target zone. While ADOCS in a 2004-2014 Color of Wealth LA, $200 liquid. Who do you think they're talking about? The ones that haven't been driven out of California. But y'all refuse to take the billions we've given you in taxes to build them homes. And you want me to cry for you, Argentina? Never. This is your monkey and your circus. Well, now you know what we have been going through because it's coming your way. Vaulted enclaves such as Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey, Culver City, and Pacific Palisades have been identified as homeless shelters in the form of tiny homes, safe camping, and or RV safe parking, according to a motion submitted by LA City Councilman Mike Bonin, who has the Coastal District. They're about to oust his ass. When the Beach Boys sang about Pacific Palisades being one of their favorite spots in the hit song Surfer USA, it's safe to say the band never envisioned an infinite row of homeless tents up on the formerly pristine California coast, where $2.6 billion is the average home price. This is rich. Celebrities who have lived in the Palisades or currently do include actors Ben Affleck, Billy Crystal, and Dan Aykroyd, boxer Sugar Ray Leonard, and directors Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams. Quote, they don't have the homeless there. We have 90% of the beaches homeless in Venice, Ursula said. Basically, all of Venice is homeless. Summer is coming, and it's unclear what LA will do to keep tourists safe who visit the coast. A handful of proposed homeless shelters won't even put a dent in the existing problem that was made worse by Bonin's proposal to cut staffing for LAPD officers who patrol the beach due to the defund the police movement. Oh my God. A 1968 anti-camping ordinance had kept homelessness in check until LA stopped enforcing it in the past decade. A 2018 court decision negated enforcement unless enough shelters existed to house individuals. We've given you the money. You've taken it out of our taxes. Tell your contractor buddies to stop lining their pockets. A 1968 anti-camping ordinance had kept homelessness in check until Los Angeles stopped enforcing it in the past decade. A 2018 court decision negated enforcement unless enough shelters existed. Okay, Neighboring Orange County, which has a fraction of the homeless, enforces an anti-camping law. They don't want this in very white OC. They don't want it. That's where the KKK lives. Los Angeles is a defendant in a federal lawsuit that accuses the city of refusing to house individuals living on Skid Row. U.S. District Court Judge David Carter, who cleaned up Orange County with a similar type of lawsuit, issued a withering opinion blasting LA city officials as corrupt. Carter accused the city of violating the U.S. Constitution clauses of equal protection and due process, in addition to creating a state danger that violated California law requiring protection, care, and assistance to the people of the state by providing appropriate aid and service to all of its needy and distressed. At last count, LA had 66,436 homeless, a 20,000 increase over the past 5 years, and 95% of them are ADOCS. California has 1/5 of the nation's homeless population with 151,278 people, according to 2021 statistics by the World Population Review. First one says she hopes the judge can take a look at Venice because the problem isn't going to be solved by City Hall. The beaches used to be safe for children and families, she said. If I want to live at the beach overlooking the ocean, I have to pay $2 million. Why should someone get that for free? Because you killed and stole all of the wealth from ADOC's ancestors who built this country through heinous chattel slave labor with their lives. That's why they should get it for free. Let me see what y'all got to say about it. And then I'm going to close out the show. What's up, DH? Thank you for joining the live, my love. Brian says, get ready for the ish to hit the fan with Russia now. Perhaps people are not entering the job market because they aren't being hired. Thank you. Going to interviews but not being offered work. Notice they haven't touched on that angle because they won't. They love benign neglect. This is what they do. There are no jobs to go to. Trey X, you hit it on the head. This hits me personally. I stopped looking last month because going to interviews went no further than such. Studying now so I can at least re-enter the market with some leverage. Baby, you're doing the right thing, but you got to work on becoming your own economy. They're not hiring ADOCS since giving away affirmative action to white women, immigrants, and LGBTQIA. It's not going to happen. So get your leverage as much as you need to, but understand, overstand, that in most of the states, you got to be bilingual to get an interview. And when you show up, you ain't got the complexion for the protection if you get to show up, because they're extincting us out of the job market with our last names. Okay? Brian, exactly. You're right about blacks not getting hired, even with degrees and the qualifications, YVOC info says. Most of your degree, I told y'all, white high school dropouts are more gainfully employed than black degreed ADOCS. College degreed ADOCS. You got folks with master's degrees having to work in factories to put burgers together, having to drive for Instacart. I did it when the pandemic first hit. Thankfully, my job got reinstated, but it's only a fraction of my income. This is serious, family. It's serious. I told you about my colleague who, after 20 years in insurance, had amassed a $200,000 a year salary. They let her go and put a white gay male in place and offered her to come back as an independent contractor at a fraction of her salary. When she refused to do that and got employed by a law firm, even though she had significantly more experience, more degrees than the snowflake they put in charge over her, they looked over her for the supervisor position. So she literally has to report to a snot-nosed white woman, half her age, with not as much experience or degrees. The ethnic cleansing of ADOCS. Wyvok says, Brian, I am sorry to hear of your situation. I will be in prayer for you. Yes, Brian, we will put you on the list as we do all of ADOCS. Thank you, much appreciated. And yes, the jobs you qualify for don't hire you. All's good until you get to the interview and they see Negro. I've been overlooked for 6-figure-a-year jobs to replace my salary because I show up and they see Negro. And then I learned of the white Hispanic or the white Asian or the white who got the position, whom I work alongside. A little off topic, but I do like what Jaden Smith has put together as far as his food truck for the homeless. That's a beautiful thing. With that said, family, we're at 102. I hope to see you back at 6 p.m. for your anti-Black racism report. Oh, as the world of ADOCS turns, family. I love you, Black and strong. I'll see you back at 6. Make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your afternoon until 6 p.m. Peace and love, family.